My name is Patrick Hartenstein. I'm the Trade and Investment Commissioner for Trade and Investment Queensland, and I'd like to welcome everybody here today to the Australia-Taiwan Future Mobility Forum. I'd like to begin with a little bit of housekeeping. So if anybody needs to use the bathrooms, they're just located behind me here on the right or left, and the fire exits are on both sides. I'd like to begin with a short Aussie-style welcome by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land that we gather and pay my respects to the elders, past, present and emerging. I'd also like to make a special acknowledgement of some of our distinguished guests here today. First of all, Mr. Wu Mongfen, President of the Taiwan Telematics Industry Association. I'd like to also acknowledge Mr. Jason Zhang, Vice President of ITS Taiwan. Also Mr. Swen Yu, Vice President of ITS. And I'd also like to welcome Mr. Brent Moore, Deputy Representative of the Australian Office and Senior Trade and Investment Commissioner. Finally, also Ms. Chen Chonghua, Deputy Director General in the Department of Industrial Development, National Development Council. And welcome all of the ladies and gentlemen here today to listen to today's forum. I'd also like to make a special warm happy birthday to Leo Lee from Go Smart and Asia Silicon Development Agency. I'm singing happy birthday. I'm very proud to say that the Queensland government is the only state government in Taiwan that has a representative office here. I'm also very proud to say that we have this great collaboration with Australia and also the Asia Silicon Development Valley Agency here, along with TIQ, my agency, to put on today's event. And finally, I'm also very proud to mention that next year in April, Brisbane will be hosting the ITS Asia Pacific Forum, and I welcome you all to that. So the objective of today's session is really to do a bit of homework before that event next year, so get everybody to learn about the latest developments in Australia and in Taiwan and get the discussions going early so that we can hopefully form some partnerships over the coming years. We've got great lineup of speakers today, so we will have an overview of the current status of Internet of Vehicles development in Taiwan and in Australia, which is also going to be followed by a panel session. And there'll also be an opportunity for a group photo. Michael. So, if you are joining us online, you'll be able to provide or ask questions in the chat box, and then hopefully we will have some time during the panel discussion to answer those questions. Those of you in the audience, just raise your hand. And so without further ado, I'd now like to welcome our first speaker to provide some welcoming remarks, Mr. Brent Moore. I'm smart enough for this technology, thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Patrick, and can I also extend my thanks and appreciation to Chunghua Chen, Deputy Director of the National Development Council, Paul Lee, CEO of Asia Silicon Valley Development Association, Mengfen Wu, President of the Taiwan Telematics Industry Association, Jason Zhang, President of ITS Taiwan, and lastly, Wu Song, Vice President of ITS Taiwan. I think that's better. So much has been said about the coronavirus that we face at the moment, and of course much has been written. And the thing that I've liked the most, the quote that I think resonates the most with me personally, is that the coronavirus epidemic is accelerating history. It's bringing forward the future at a faster rate of pace than was ever expected. And the future of Australia's public and private transport sector is similarly being accelerated and moulded by a combination of technological disruption supported by strong regulatory and policy leadership
as well as inbound investment from places like Taiwan. Like most countries around the world, Australia has had the task of rethinking its transport infrastructure to address increasing urbanisation, rapid population growth, environmental sustainability, but now because of coronavirus, we're also facing a situation of decentralisation, where city urban residents are choosing to live outside of the major centres, which is causing some planning responses to have to be put through, and some challenges there for policymakers. According to Ausroads, there are currently over 34 connected and autonomous vehicle trials underway in Australia, with this number set to grow thanks to a robust R&D ecosystem and strong government policy support and incentives. I'll mention some of those in a moment. Across governments at all levels, we're working with the industry to leverage intelligence transportation systems, CAVs, and mobility as a service to improve the safety, efficiency and sustainability of Australia's transport system. Australia's making progress, particularly in the foundational areas of policy and regulation, to drive our transport and mobility in the future. We're seen as a marked acceleration in the development of autonomous vehicle legislation, infrastructure and investment, with the potential leader to become a potential opportunity to become a global leader in AVs. Australia is strongly positioning itself for the safe deployment of AVs by developing a nationally consistent end-to-end regulatory framework. Our commitment to future mobility is further reflected in the establishment of the Office of Future Transport Technologies, a $9.7 million initiative to unify state and territory governments and agencies in delivering future transport technologies in a safe and responsible manner. Positioned within the Department of Infrastructure, this office's mandate is to provide strategic leadership and support collaboration to ensure the safety of autonomous vehicles and to identify future infrastructure requirements to ensure cyber security safeguards are well in place. The office is also working to support Australian businesses in realising these potential commercial opportunities. All of the government are also making progress preparing transport and other enabling infrastructure. At the federal level, the big body Ausroads has undertaken work to better understand the challenges and opportunities of autonomous vehicles, and is focusing on supporting operations through machine-readable signage, road markings, open data in the context of heavy road operators, and more broadly, the opportunities around automated heavy vehicles in remote and regional areas, which is a particular challenge in Australia. Outside of government, the private sector is playing its part as well. Transurban, Australia's largest toll operator, has conducted trials of connected and autonomous vehicles in partnership with 6 vehicle manufacturers, namely Audi, BMW, Mazda, Mercedes, Tesla and Volvo. The first phase of testing targets partial automation, and subsequent phases will test highly automated vehicles. The trial, delivered in partnership with Victorian Government, VicRoads and the Royal Automotive Club of Victoria, has further added to the body of knowledge on the challenges and opportunities of automated vehicles in Australia. We offer an ideal market to develop, innovate, refine and particularly test new modes of transport technology. These conditions are spurring activity and investment by authorities, automotive OEMs, as well as local and international firms. Some innovation highlights include Sydney-based Viraja, which has developed a 3D machine vision system for all AVs using light detection ranging radar or LiDAR, which I should have said. Later today, Viraja representative Johnny Wang will be presenting their LiDAR technology at the panel discussion. Queensland company Tritium, which is manufacturing and supplying world-leading electric vehicle charging infrastructure to locations in Europe and North America, and major OEM car makers and suppliers such as Mercedes-Benz and Bosch are trialling AED technology on the roads around Melbourne and Victoria, which has always been a hub of automotive manufacturing in Australia and remains the centre of engineering excellence. Emerging other vehicle providers such as Navia, EasyMile, Origo, and Local Motors are trialling and demonstrating their technologies in partnership with Australian universities, local companies, and transport authorities. So in conclusion, I want to thank everybody for joining us today to learn more about some of this emerging technology and opportunities in Australia. And I'll just remind you, I'm sure Lawrence is familiar to you all. So Lawrence is our Tech and Innovation Master within the Austrade office. And if any of the technologies of interest to you, or you're looking for opportunities to either test or further develop or trial your technology in Australia, Lawrence's virtual door is always open, and we encourage you to reach out to Austrade so we can brief you on how we may be able to provide you with some further assistance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brett, for providing those opening remarks. I would now like to invite Ms. Chen Chongfa to the stage to say a few words.
Good afternoon. Mr. Brett Moore, Deputy Representative of Australia Office, Taipei. Mr. Patrick Haverston, Commissioner of Trade and Investment, Queensland. Mr. Mengfen Wu, President of Taiwan Telematics Industry Association. Professor Jason Zhang, and all distinguished guests from both academia and industry. On behalf of National Development Council, I would like to express my gratitude to forum organizers, Australia Office Taipei, as many professionals and experts joined in this event to discuss the topic of the Internet of Vehicles. It is evident that everyone highly values the industrial development of IoT, both in Taiwan and Australia. The experiences of promoting smart transportation, including services and goods, showcase on the annual ITS exhibition hosted in Australia is of good reference to Taiwan. Since it is the first time the ASVCA cooperates with Australia counterparts, my special thanks go to the Australian Office Taipei and the Trade and Investment Queensland Taiwan Office for facilitating this event. We look forward to any potential business cooperations through the industry exchanges. With the development of global intelligent conversation, the Internet of Things has become a prominent trend. The automotive industry, with no exception, has also gradually disrupted its traditional industry chain, creating IoT trend and innovative application. In recent years, development of IoT and its related researches on integrated facilities have been a focus for governments around the world. According to Goldman Sachs, global automotive V2X vehicles to everything market is estimated to reach $790 million in 2020 and surpass $32.4 billion in 2035, suggesting that there will be tremendous business opportunities in the future. Smart transportation is booming worldwide. It can not only reduce carbon emissions, but also improve transportation efficiency. Therefore, promoting smart transportation is one of Taiwanese government's essential policies. Taiwan has provided R&D test beds for industry, universities, and research institutes. For instance, Taoyuan Hutoshan Innovation Hub, Taiwan Car Lab in Thailand, etc., are helpful for local companies to establish seamless integration of automated driving application among vehicles, roads, and clouds. Traffic congestion is a universal problem. Therefore, promoting self-driving buses and small vehicles can help ease the problem. In Taiwan, there are many examples from our excellent local vendors. With stable and fast 5G signal, Touring Drive had partnered with Taipei City government to offer comfortable and secure travel experience for passengers via self-driving buses in Xinyi district. Also, Touring Drive services are provided in Taoyuan, Li'er Recreational Park in Taichung, etc. So far, the total operational mileage has exceeded 18,000 kilometers, carrying 57,000 plus passengers. In addition, self-driving buses cooperated by Zhonghua Telecom and Kingwei Technology have begun transport services along Danhai Light Rail Transit in Taipei City. Similarly, shared motorcycles can also supplement public transit system. Shared motorcycle companies have broken new ground in accelerating growth of the mobile sharing industry in Taiwan. For example, Gogoro, a well-known electric motorcycle producer, has been offering motorcycle sharing services, GoShare, since 2019. GoShare enables users to rent and return electric motorcycle on demand by its mobile app. This service has merged into current public transit system. It also makes up for the first and the last mile that is hard to reach by public system. As we can see, it is quite common to see GoShare in Taipei. On the other hand, Taiwanese companies also look forward to cooperating with Australian rider and related component manufacturers. It is convinced that this event can facilitate companies go from local to global, from startup to scale up. Thank you for your passionate participation. I believe the participants will benefit a lot from today's event. We also look forward to seeing the success of Taiwan-Australia collaboration in LV fields through ongoing bilateral exchanges. I wish the forum a great success, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Director General Chen, for sharing your insights on Taiwan. I'd now like to ask you to come back up, because we're going to take a group photo, and Brent also.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Thumbs up.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Okay, wait. One more photo with all the speakers from today, please. The speakers and also.
Me too.
Me. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, with the box. Like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Dr. Zhang Rong Yao, who is the Deputy Director of Taiwan Car Lab from NALAB. Please welcome Dr. Zhang.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah.
and all the honored guests. I will introduce the Taiwan Car Lab. The car means the connected, autonomous, and roadcab. And this Taiwan Car Lab is in Hainan, the south part of Taiwan, and this is belong to the Ministry of Science and Technology. And this is the first so-called driving school for autonomous vehicles. So this is a very special project Taiwan because it's the first time. Okay, in the beginning, I always show a video to see how do you deciding to see the autonomous vehicle. Okay, please.
霹雳车，尖端科技的结晶，是一部人性化的万能电动车，出现在我们这个无奇不有的世界，刀枪不入，无所不能。
In Chinese character, this is called the thunder. Yeah. And this is the combination of the advanced technology. And you have humanity, so the car can talk to you. You can call the car to come, to go, to jump. Yeah. And also, you can see the environment because actually right now, so-called Waymo, the Uber, they do a lot of tests in the US, but not only in the city part, but also in the desert, Arizona or Arizona state. So this is much different to Taiwan. Next, please. So actually, for the autonomous driving, this is the trend in public and the personal mobility. So the potential benefit, it can enhance the safety, also the efficiency, and also for the convenience of the transportation and the infrastructure, meeting the needs in the society and also address the lack of drivers. Open up the mobility as a service and the passenger economy and also the logistical revolutions. However, in Taiwan, Taiwan is actually engaged in developing the enable autonomous driving technology and also the facilitate autonomous driving services. What does that mean? Yes, please. This is a static result from the Egypt. So you can see the average, we have 3 people have a car and also 1.5 people have a motorcycle. What's that mean? Yes, please. This is how we deal every day. So we need to deal a car and the motorcycle missing flow. And in a traffic light, there are over 200 or 300 motorcycles just behind you. And also we have a unicode transportation equipment. And we also have night market. And we have the flashlight and also the people's behavior, you can ask them. So this kind of traffic scenario, you can see that in US, not in Europe, or even not in Northeastern Asia, or Japan, Korea. They don't have this kind of situation. So this only happens in Taiwan, in China, and in Southwest Asia, Southeast Asia. But actually, in Taiwan, because we only have one car manufacturing company, the advanced in Taiwan industry is for electronic devices, ICT industry, and also parts of cars. So if we don't use this opportunity to help our industry to develop their ADAS system or automatic technologies, they can get into the supply chains in the near future. So next, please. So all the autonomous technology we can assume some kind of level of sensing or AI for the human machine interface and control and also the smart transportation. So because right now we have a LiDAR, we have camera, we have GPS, and also the high definition map and so on. So what the data future need to do to deal with, and also how can we deal for the speech recommendation active safety systems? How the AI can deal, even though the AI can deal with the problem, the AI can control the car property. So this is a very big issue for autonomous vehicles. Next, please. So for the strategic levels, the value chain development. This is a leg for the dominant OEM or Tier 1 supplier, and we also have a low technology readiness level in some subsystems. And also we have unclear user acceptance for autonomous vehicles. For technical levels, this is an environmental and traffic issue for the complicated scenario, highly mixing traffic flow and unpredictable behaviors. So how we meet the challenge? So we need to observe the transformative trend and also form the industry alliance, development across a proving ground, which we just mentioned. We have two close proving ground, one in the Taoyuan, and one in China, the Taiwan College. And also we need to accumulate the data for learning, and also we have the experimental in terms of the regulator sandbox regulation. So based on this thought, actually a lot of government agencies try to push the industry to grow up. So the planning is for the Board of Science and Technology, and also for the technology part and the industry part, the training part, HDMM, and also the logistics relations part. This is also belong to the Ministry of Economic Affairs, Science and Technology, Interior, and also Transportation and Communication, and also the Education. So based on this common planning, we have for the research institute and also for the industry and also for the university, also combined together to help industry to develop the autonomous vehicle technology. For all these kind of issues, for the technology, for the system integration, data analysis, and the supply chain, business model, mobility as a service, and also the proving ground. The Taiwan Car Lab is established in 2018. So in the beginning, we have 13 different testing scenarios. For example, for the crossroad, we have a T-shaped crossroad, the regular shape, and also the regular shape of traffic light, also the traffic light and the intelligent systems invented by the E-tree. So the system can talk to the autonomous vehicle directly by the countdown number, countdown seconds for the traffic light, and also they can warning the vehicles if they have a different direction, multiple movement. They can give the warning direct to the car. So this help to the company or the industry, the university to test their autonomous vehicle technologies. And we also next. And we also because a lot of companies tell me that they solve the most difficult scenario is in the night with rain, with fog, with the animation. For this too. So we built the fog and the rainfall scenario in our terminal area. So right now, for example, the Qimei electronic company that test their data systems in the night, and also in the fog and the rainfall system to see if they can recognize the object in front of you in those kind of situations. Next. And not only for the proving ground, we also have 5G, ESRC, and also CV2X communication platform. We also have the dynamic testing scenarios. And we also have the standard equipment suitable for the 2018 Euro NCAP standards. So this help our industry. They can do the test in our laboratories. They can connect to the Europe standard easily. Next. So this is a dynamic test scenario. So for the motorcycle cut in your driveway and also the mixing flow mode, for the crossover mode and the follow mode, we can using the dynamic equipment to do all kinds of tests. Next. This is one example. So this is the freight car. So and we just take because they have a accident in front of So the first car they can stay away, but the second car the automobile when he recognizes his damage, they can stop. So we can use those kind of combination to think what vehicle can deal with the real Taiwan traffic situation. Okay, next please. Not only for the proving ground, real proving ground, we also have the mixing traffic flow, accident pattern, and the behavior model in our simulator platform. This simulator platform, this is the combination with the business software, and also we are trying to import the car motor mixing flow module, and also the traffic spy and the scooter 3D module, and also the common traffic accident pattern in Taiwan. This is a static result. So we put all these stuff in the simulator service platform and get into those kind of different software. So if university, industry, they want to test their technology in the first time, in the software, in a simulation world, they can use our service platform to do the test. And then if they can pass all these questions, they can put it into the car and go to our proving ground to do the real test. So as Ms. Chen just mentioned earlier, right now in the new Taipei City, Taipei, Taoyuan, Hsinchu, Taichung, Changhua, Tainan, there's a lot of company and also the industry that are doing the test because they get into our laboratory and get the test report and to get the authority to drive the public flow. So as you can see, mostly it's for the public transportation. This is also the Taiwan policy direction right now. We are encouraging from a business model to see how the autonomous vehicle can help to deal with the public transportation issue. Next. So Taiwan Car Lab is a platform just between the R&D institute and also the industry. So the industry can test their car, their electronic device or the ADAS system in our laboratories. And if they have any question or some bottleneck, we can connect to the local research institute. So then because actually right now Taiwan Car Lab is running by the National Pilot. Under the National Laboratory, we have Taiwan Thematic Research Institute, and also the National Center for High-Speed Computing, and also this is Australia Research and Testing Center under the Ministry of Economics. So all these service research service platform can help the R&D institute and the industry to develop their technology more faster. So this is all I have today. Thank you very much.
much, Dr. Zhang. I would like to say that you did miss one of the benefits of autonomous vehicles. For me, the biggest benefit is I won't need to keep paying my wife's parking fines and doing a speeding fine if there's autonomous vehicles. I'd now like to invite our online guest. So we have the CEO of ITS Australia joining us now, Ms. Susan Harris. We can't hear you, Susan.
Susan, can't hear you.
Is this better?
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. I was saying that it's a great pleasure to be here this afternoon and be able to participate in this forum. It is one of the unexpected benefits of being, as you can see, working from home, but being able to connect. In some ways, I feel like we've never been more connected, able to connect globally with our great colleagues in Taiwan. We've been meeting for many years in countries all around the world in association with ITS World Congress events and Asia Pacific Forum events. So it's fantastic for me to be able to come and visit you in Taiwan virtually, and I look forward to the opportunity, hopefully in the not too distant future, to be able to come myself in person to Taiwan. So it's my pleasure this afternoon to give you a brief update on ITS activity in Australia. But firstly, to introduce ITS Australia to you. We're the peak body for advanced transport technology in Australia, and we're super proud to be associated or have as members leaders in the transport technology space from across Australia. So you'll recognise many of the brands here. Many of them are global and multinational players, and we also have a few that are based in Taiwan as well. So yeah, we're really pleased to be supported by government, industry and academic organisations from across Australia. So I wanted to take the opportunity to, first of all, give a bit of a perspective on what's happening in Australia at the moment. So, you know, we talk a lot about COVID, but it's front and centre in many ways. So as Australia continues to grapple with the economic consequences brought by COVID, there's no doubt that spend on infrastructure projects will play a critical role in the economic recovery. And we're seeing that all levels of government are looking to leverage job creation opportunities and to fast-track projects to undertake new investments to prepare Australia for the future, but also as an approach to addressing the economic issues that have been brought about since COVID. So we're seeing that, you know, Australia is likely to see the biggest infrastructure boom that we've seen in generations. Just last month, the Deputy Prime Minister of Australia announced a record $110 billion Australian dollars investment in transport infrastructure projects, laying the foundations for our economic recovery moving forward. Just yesterday, the Premier of my state, Victoria, announced again a record spend in transport infrastructure that looks like around $20 billion a year for the foreseeable future on spend on transport infrastructure. And as you can see from the slide here, we've currently got around $50 billion currently under investment in Australia as well. So it's a great opportunity if you're in the infrastructure space. There's plenty going on in Australia. And I'm super excited to be part of the sector that makes this infrastructure smart. So it's our members and our international partners that can really work with our governments to make sure that our infrastructure that's delivered today prepares us for the future in delivering both safer transport outcomes, but more sustainable and better outcomes that more efficiently deliver the transport needs that we're looking for. So today I'm going to give you a bit of a snapshot on some of the activity that is taking place. I'm going to start with connected and autonomous vehicles or the Internet of Vehicles, and then move on to the mobility space. So very much, you know, while we've been sitting at home in our lounge rooms busy working away, there's been a huge amount of activity and deployments in various states around Australia, and continuing to be a lot of good work in this space. We've seen, for example, at ITS Australia, we've got our awards coming out tomorrow. We'll be announcing the winners of our awards at our ITS Australia National Awards presentation day tomorrow. We had a record number of nominations for that, with over 60 projects being put forward as worthy of award consideration. So that just gives you an indication of the level of activity that's taking place behind the scenes. So I'm going to not run through all of these projects, but just give you a run through. So, of course, it would be remiss of me not to mention the great projects that are taking place in Queensland with the CAVI, or Connected and Autonomous Vehicle Initiative, taking place there. They've done some great work in the automated vehicle space and are now stepping forward into the connected vehicle space, where they've got a deployment taking place up in a place called Ipswich, where they've got 600 vehicles that are driven by local motorists that are being retrofitted with connected vehicle technology to really understand the role of this technology in delivering improved safety outcomes, but also understanding in a real-world environment how people respond to the technology and how that technology works. So I'm pretty sure that you're hearing from someone that involved in the project. I think I saw the project director on the line before, so I'll leave Dr. Miranda Blogg to correct any of my my assumptions here. But it's a really great project that we'll also be showcasing at the Asia Pac Forum in Brisbane in April next year. Some of the other things that are taking place. We heard earlier about the work that Transurban's been doing nationally, really looking at, from a road infrastructure perspective, how a new vehicle technology is going to interact with the road, and are there things that we need to do in relation to maybe line markings or signs or activities that take place in tunnels, really understanding how advanced vehicles on our roads today are interacting with our road network, and what can we do as road operators to better understand and make these vehicles a more comfortable drive, but work more efficiently and more safely on our network. Down in Melbourne, we're running for a couple of years now, we've got the Australian Integrated Multimodal Ecosystem. So it sounds a bit of a mouthful, but this is a bit of a sandpit around, I think it's about 6 kilometre square space in a university precinct just on the fringe of Melbourne, that, so it's in an urban area, that it is a really great space for new technology to be deployed and to understand how it works in a real world environment. So this is on public roads, interacting with motorists, interacting with pedestrians, interacting with trams and buses. There's a high student population in the area. So this is we've got a lot of industry partners that are using this space to demonstrate their technology. I think one of the conversations that is happening, I'm seeing more and more of in this space at the moment, is that we've got some great technologies, but governments are really looking to deploy proven technologies. So this AIMS testbed is a great way to prove your technology and then encourage take-up and deployment. Nationally, there's some great work taking place from the National Transport Commission, looking at the regulatory framework for deployment of vehicles, looking at understanding the data space and understanding how we might need to regulate that. We've also got initiatives looking at the data that's coming out of these vehicles, and nationally how our road agencies might take that on board. So there's a lot of work happening both from an industry perspective and from a government perspective to prepare us and take advantage of this technology as it gets deployed and becomes available. So I think I also wanted to touch on the mobility space as well. So we're seeing that not just in the vehicle space that this Internet of Things is creating a lot of excitement, but in the mobility space in particular, what we're seeing is that a lot of the deployments can actually start to take place now in a smaller scale, and those benefits can be realised quite immediately. So we're seeing things like on-demand transport services. You've now got a computer in your hand, you can connect directly with the bus operator, and they can come to a point close to your home and pick you up. So certainly some of these initiatives with COVID and concerns about sharing have slowed down. But it's been interesting to get some feedback that there's also been some increased interest in some of these technologies. So things like People are now having to use technology more to connect with people, so they're a bit more comfortable to use a technology or pick up a device and connect with the bus and ask the bus to come by their home. People are also more comfortable with making a booking for a transport service versus a regular timetabled service. So people finding that people are a bit more comfortable with sharing that information, and they can see the benefits, you know, in a place where we're looking to trace people and have better knowledge of who's where. People are much more comfortable with that in the current climate than perhaps they had have been 12 months ago. Certainly we've got a lot of shuttle deployments across the various states, and that's been really positive around exposing the community to this technology and really adding value in key niches. I think South Australia, we've got a great deployment of a shuttle in an aged care environment. And again, in South Australia, we've got the Sage Matilda Smart Transit Hub. So this is a great use of technology. This is basically a portable transit station that is full disability access. It has a great suite of other technologies that helps people to either, you know, they've got shelter, it's safe, it's got CCTV. If you want to listen to the timetable, you can press the button and listen to the timetable. You can understand when the next vehicle is going to come and call. So that's been a great initiative in South Australia. Some of the other trials that we've got, things like in New South Wales, we've got a plethora of on-demand transport trials. We've also got an interesting one taking place in Waverley with partners Move It and the Waverley City Council. This is a particularly busy high street precinct. It's a transit hub with a lot of activity and a lot of comings and goings and quite a complex intersection space. So they've done a trial deployment here of managing the curbside digitally, so encouraging our car share people to pre-book a slot, or they get told where they can actually come and park, and that information gets shared with the consumer to enable them to know where they can meet their ride share or where they can hail a taxi and other things. So this is a sort of step into that space of using technology to better manage the curbside, to smooth out people's journey, but also to make it safer and to make sure we also prioritise those mass transit modes as well. In New South Wales, we've also had in the last 12 months, deployment of Opal Pay by Transit for New South Wales. So big multinational there with Cubic deploying the system that enables us to use just the credit card as our ticketing system going forward there. So there's plenty going on across the environment in Australia at the moment. I also wanted to touch on some of the work that's taking place with our partners at ITS Australia. So we like to play a role in helping to continue the conversation and highlight the benefits of this technology and bring together partners across industry and government to help build that collaboration in this space. So one of the initiatives that we've been involved in over the last 12 months is really looking at connectivity in CITS in the Australian context to highlight the benefits there. So we've been working with Melbourne University and through the iMove CRC, and we've been able to identify or really understand the opportunity in Australia for connected vehicles to reduce vehicle crashes. So again, reflecting what's been found overseas, it would be expected that CITS could have an impact on over 78 of vehicle crashes. When we look at where the incidents occur, we've got a significant portion of incidents taking place on rural roads. So it's important that we look at technologies not just for our city folk, but also for folk out in rural areas. And this identified that particularly motorcyclists stand to benefit from curve speed warning information, with up to 70% of crashes involving motorcycles that could be deterred or avoided with adequate curve speed information. This also looked at the benefits of microsimulation to understand how connected vehicle technology could not just improve safety, but could also improve mobility and journey times. So identified with just 30% deployment of connected vehicle technology in our major cities, we could reduce congestion and traffic by some 11%. And we could also get an improvement of average speed times of up to 10% if a fifth of cars were connected with this technology. So there's a lot more information of that particular study available on our website, but we're really pleased to work with a range of partners to really highlight the benefits of this technology amongst our key stakeholders. So as I touched on earlier, and I know it was mentioned at the start of this forum, just wanted to bring to everyone's attention this opportunity at the Asia-Pac Forum in April next year. My apologies. So this event registrations for this event are open now, and we've got a just to let everyone know, we've got a great digital platform which will enable everyone in Taiwan to connect and understand what's happening here. So we've got a really full program. I think we're expecting some 800 guests in person in Brisbane, but we've got a digital platform that will enable our guests from Asia-Pac to connect remotely into this platform. And you'll be able to not just present your papers, but also to interact real time during discussions via the digital app. So I encourage you to get online and have a look and get involved in that session. So I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to present this afternoon and really encourage everyone to stay connected. If you do have the opportunity to come to Australia down the track, we'd love to see you and love to connect with you all. So thank you very much for the opportunity to present here today.
Thank you very much, Susan, for providing that great snapshot of what's happening in Australia, including in all the different states. And also to congratulate Melbourne on their 28 days of no local cases and no 40 cases. Borders will be opening up in Australia between Sydney and Melbourne and Brisbane from December 1st. So that's great news. Now for the final session, and I apologise there are no breaks today, but the final session now we have the panel discussion. So I would like to invite Jason Jung, the Vice President of ITS Taiwan and board member also of ITS World Congress and the Professor of the Department of Civil Engineering at the National Taiwan University as our moderator for the panel discussion. Please welcome Jason.
Thank you very much, Patrick. It's really my great honor to help you to moderate this panel discussion. You know, I suddenly remembered I was in Cairns, 94. I was with the director of transport and main roads, Colin Jensen, at that time. That was our second Asia Pacific ITS Forum. And next year we are going to have our 17th AP Forum in Brisbane. I've been in many cities in Australia. So today, yes, it's my great honor to come back here again. And particularly under this session, Future Mobility. You know, this is a little bit different from the Chinese translation and future mobility. I think that's why one of the reasons that President Bongben was here when he told that there's an event. He said he definitely will come and join with us. And as you know, the AIoT or connected, normally what I call EIP, connected vehicle, infrastructure, and people, of course, plus cloud is the really important industry. And there are lots of research, explore the impact of this connected VIP plus clouds on our various industries. Let me give you a number. In the coming 15 years, the impact of AI on various industries will be like $4 to $5 trillion. In the top three industries big impact include travel, logistics and transport, and smart retail. Okay. So today we talk about future mobility. I think it's good timing, and also I think there are lots of opportunities that Taiwan and Australia can work together. And today we have 7 speakers in our panel. Okay. We have 3 from Australia and Dr. Miranda Brown, and we have Mr. Johnny Wong from Baraja, and we have Mr. David Appelt from a very famous company doing the smart freeway transmarks. So I would like to invite our 3 Australian speakers first. Talk about the initiative of autonomous vehicle and also the technology on LiDAR. And David is going to also talk about one of the famous project, smart freeway in Australia. And then we have also 3 speakers from Taiwan. Go Shell, William is going to share with us one of the first Shell motorcycle in Taiwan. And our 2 major partners in autonomous bus, Stephen and Sam, is going to share with us the autonomous bus. I believe you know that these 2 companies contribute more than 90% of the autonomous bus trial in Taiwan. And in the past 15 months, the Minister of Transport and Communications, Dr. Zhao Ling, also initiated we call Board of Transport Industry. I think this is the first time that Minister of Transport and Communications initiate this collaboration with the National Development Council, Ministry of Science and Technology, and also the Ministry of Economic Affairs. 10 subcommittees being established. I think at least 7 of this committee related to what we are going to talk about. So I hope we can have time, not just our panelists, to exchange knowledge and experience, but also we have so many honorable guests here. We would like to also hear about your opinion about the future mobility and the potential collaboration between Australia and Taiwan. Okay. Without further introduction, let's invite the first speaker. I think Marina Block, right? Okay. Thank you. Thank you much.
Hello. Just checking why my video doesn't work. So, sorry, do I have somebody putting the presentation up for me in the background?
Yes, presentation is in the background.
Yeah, we can see the slides at our end, Miranda.
Okay, that's great. I can't see them, so I'll just continue. So just, sorry.
If you just let us know when to go to the next slide.
I will, great. Thank you again for this opportunity. So just quickly, a little bit of background about Transport and Main Roads. We manage around about 33,000 kilometres of state road in Queensland, as well as vehicle registration, driver's licences, all of the public transport trips, and the port, across 21 ports, the movement of our goods through Queensland. It's interesting to note that Queensland's a very large state. We're about 50 times the size of Taiwan. We only have around about a fifth of the population. And more interestingly, we have more registered vehicles, about 5 million registered vehicles, compared with a population of around 4.5 million. So we sort of have the more extreme problem with you know, space and people travelling large distances to get around the state. So if we can move to the next slide. I'm wondering if I still have you.
Time? Where did you get this vest from? Not yours, is it? Take it back.
Okay. Johnny? Oh, okay. I thought you were quiet.
here in the flesh.
Good, wonderful. Your turn? Thank you. Let's welcome Johnny.
So thank you for giving me to introduce our company. We're called Baraha. We are a startup company based in Sydney. I'm going to spend just not too long, a few minutes to go over a little bit about Baraha, our background, and a little bit about our technology. We'll have time today to go into a deep dive in detail, but if you're interested, come find me after. So a bit of background first. We were established in the end of 2015. We are a venture-backed startup by Sequoia and Blackbird, quite famous venture capital companies, one in the US, one locally in Australia, roughly about a headcount of 95. Most of our team is in Sydney. All of our R&D, our manufacturing, all of our testing validation, all in Sydney. We also have 2 offices, one in Shanghai, one in San Francisco. I handle business development for the Asia Pacific region for Baraha. So I'm usually on the road about 250 days of the year. I'm very, very fortunate, and I feel very, very lucky that my home actually is in Taiwan. So this year, fortunately for me, with COVID and travel restrictions, I was able to be probably the best place in the whole world this year. And maybe all times as well. Previously, the presentation did mention about Australia, but there's a couple of things that maybe we're missing, and you guys can explain about the innovation and the startup community in Australia. So Baraha is very proud to be a deep, innovative startup company working on a very hard problem. LiDAR, which I will introduce in the next few slides, is not easy in any sense. There's a lot of technical challenges that needs to be overcome, and usually you would find these type of companies in places like Silicon Valley. And we take a lot of pride being from Australia and developing this technology from the ground up in Sydney. Many of you might or might not know, but Australia does have a lot of innovation, especially in the mobility space. Actually, the first deployment of operational automation in vehicles is actually probably in Australia, and it's in mining community. It's been more than a decade, almost 2 decades even, with actual autonomous mining vehicles driven without any human driver. And that's operating continuously, and the mining sector has actually put a lot of investment, continued investment into automation, and it's ongoing. And it used to start with just haulage and dump trucks, but now they're automating everything. Even from trains, road trains, to excavators, to utility vehicles. So there's a lot of space, a lot of innovation happening in that space. Secondly would be robotics. So Australia actually has a very big, growing robotic community, and it's part of innovation. I know a lot of that already works with the Taiwan supply chain, and it's also one of the growing things. And most famously, one of the most famous innovations that actually globally over the last century actually came from Australia. Wi-Fi was actually invented by CSIRO. And usually during these talks, somebody from CSIRO would be representing. They will tell you all about it. So today I'm just giving him a little bit of homage, just telling you, Wi-Fi. So Australia is a very innovative country, even though it's sometimes a little bit more subtle in its approach. So our company makes a technology called LiDAR. We develop and we also make a product. So what is LiDAR? Quickly, you'll see here maybe in the US and in other parts of the world, an automated car will look like this. You have different sensors. So you have radar, you have cameras, and then you have something called LiDAR. LiDAR is that traditionally looks like this big bucket spinning around on the top of your car. So if you ever look at a Waymo car or an Uber car, or these other cars driving around and testing, that big thing on the top, that's a LiDAR. Now, what is it? What does it do? And what's it good for? So every autonomous vehicle needs to be able to see, just like a human being when you're driving. And all these sensors are a way for the vehicle to see. So obviously cameras, and cameras are good for, they're very high resolution. And they're able to do classification, be able to detect or classify pedestrians, vehicles, scooters very, very well. However, what they're not good at is actually measuring distance or measuring range. So, and they're also affected by weather conditions quite immensely. Radar, on the other hand, is very good in different weather conditions. However, it has very low resolution, though it has very long range. LiDAR is something that basically meets in the middle. It's a supplement to cameras in that it has very, very good measuring range capabilities. That's the, for safety applications, LiDAR is imperative. Unless you're Elon Musk, everybody else says LiDAR is imperative. So that's one thing. The other is that LiDAR is quite good in resolution. So here is a typical example of what a LiDAR actually outputs. The data that you come and you visualize it, this is what it looks like. It's a bunch of points that's taken from your environment. I won't go into the details about the technology aspect, but visually this is what it looks like. So as you see, as a car moves and the sensor is collecting data, you'll be able to perceive or extract images from it. And those bounding boxes, or those boxes, are identifying vehicles. So this is not our LiDAR. This is a Velodyne LiDAR. It was taken, I think, many years ago. What is the current state of LiDAR? So if you're not familiar with LiDAR, there's roughly about 100-odd companies doing LiDAR globally. So there's a lot. However, they're all a little bit different. The iPhone 12 was just announced, and a LiDAR is actually in that mobile phone. So LiDAR is getting more prevalent across many different sectors. Now, in our sector, the automotive or mobility sector, the current state of LiDAR, there's three things that are problematic or challenging that has yet to be solved. The first is range. So you have to be able to see very far. Now I have the colleagues here today that will be talking about buses and shuttles, and they use LiDAR as well. But however, if you're talking about the entire mobility space, you have to think about all driving scenarios, including highways and faster speeds, in which you will have to see in long ranges, so that you have proper response times for safety. Second is resolution, of course. So you have to have enough resolution to be able to in the first place, detect the objects, and then to be able to classify them. So resolution or more resolution is needed from a LiDAR sensor. And finally, reliability. So I think everybody understands that automotive, first and foremost, is about safety. And so you have to have a reliable sensor that's fail-safe in order to ensure safety. The traditional LiDARs, these big mechanical spinning buckets, I like to call them, granted they work, however, they are not designed for reliability. I think in our small LiDAR industry or sector, I think there's a general consensus or agreement that this is good for testing, but not good for mass production at scale. So what does Baraha do? How do we differentiate? There's many different ways to create a LiDAR. And it's all about how you scan your environment, or how you scan the light in your environment. We invented a technique called spectrum scan. It's a complete new innovation that really no other company is doing. A general idea of the concept, this is a little video. So what do? It's actually quite easy to comprehend. We learned in school that when white light hits a prism, it refracts into different colors. Every color is a different wavelength of light. And when a different color of light hits a prism, it'll have a different refractive angle that comes out of it. Essentially, what we do is we harness this principle, this physics principle of light, to create the scan. So we use a laser that can change color very, very quickly, and we combine that with a prism-like optical design. Of course, we aren't in the visible spectrum, we're in the infrared spectrum, 1550 nanometers to be exact. And that's essentially how we scan our light throughout the environment. Now, how is that different from those mechanical spinning ones? Well, first and foremost, there's nothing moving. So when you're nothing moving, it creates a much more reliable solution. If you think about a vehicle, the thing vibrates. There's a lot of, you have to drive through a lot of temperatures. There's a lot of shock that has to be considered. And when you have a moving part that's also very sensitive and also imperative for safety, you need to be able to have some new innovations to be able to make it more reliable, more robust. In our industry, automotive grade. So this is currently what our sensor looks like. And like I mentioned earlier, there's like 100-something different LiDAR companies in the world. There's a handful of them focused in our market, automotive and mobility. And where we differentiate is we are a LiDAR that is high performance. So we are targeting what we call, nobody's explained it yet today, but I think most people in the audience might understand. We are targeting level 4, level 5 applications, so complete autonomy. Granted, we can lower, you can use it for level 3 or even level 2 if you wanted to, but from a design standpoint, from a productization standpoint, we are aiming for a full autonomy type product. And what does that mean? It means specifically 2 things. We need to be able to see very, very far, and we need to see very, very clearly. Yeah. And that's what we are aiming to do. Here's a little understanding about our technology and how we revolutionized the resolution aspect of a LiDAR. So just now you saw the video of how it works. We use a prism to scan the free space. Now, if we look inside the prism, what's actually happening? Every wavelength of light that we are actually outputting is actually one line of resolution. And because of this, we actually have to change our scan pattern frame to frame dynamically, very reliably, very, very low latency, without any moving parts. And so at any particular time, we can say we need to scan in an urban environment, let's say, we need to scan over 120 lines, because we need to see everything. But then when you come onto the highway, maybe just like a human being, you don't need to see everything. You only really focusing on what's in front of you, on the horizon. But what you can do then is very quickly, without any moving parts, through software, just change your scan pattern so that you have more resolution ready to use. So Oraha has a very configurable system, a very versatile, a very flexible system that can adapt to different driving use cases. And it's also this reason why we've been able to penetrate different markets. Yes, we are in the automotive industry, but we're also in the mining industry. We're also in the infrastructure industry. So we are able to be applicable to many different industries because of the adaptation of our product. This is what one of our point clouds look like. This is a quick understanding, and as you can see, we can change the density of the points and the resolution along the field of view very, very quickly. So that's one of my colleagues walking on the road somewhere, chats with or something. Well, now the other thing that's really unique is that we are a modular system. Earlier you saw that big picture with this big box spinning bucket thing. Recently there's new innovations that are just one box with a circular, rectangular box. We are a modular system. What does that mean? Is that we separated our laser from our optics. And why is that good? Well, number one, it's more reliable. The laser is always the most sensitive part of your LiDAR system. The fact that we separated it means that you can situate or place your laser or your engine somewhere more safe in the vehicle. Most of our customers place it next to the computer system, where you can leverage the cooling and thermal. The sensor head, on the other hand, can be then placed outside of the vehicle or redesigned or repackaged in some way to fit inside the vehicle, behind the windshield, embedded into a headlamp, etc. So it has that versatility and also the reliability. And we can also redesign the sensor head or redesign the optics to fit different OEMs or different car models design. So granted, all these robo-taxis that you've been seeing around, they're pretty ugly. We're retrofitting existing vehicles. But in the long term, we're thinking, a Mercedes shouldn't have a big bucket on top of this roof. They obviously know that, and aesthetics means something in the automotive industry. So being able to redesign your LiDAR to fit the design of a vehicle, not make it also good looking, but also reliable is important. And we are able to do that more easily than most others. As you can see, the flexibility of placing it in other areas. This is one of our most recent point clouds. And just to show you the level of resolution that you can get. Thank you. And recently, so we've been able to enhance, develop our system to near like camera-like resolution quality. And this is absolutely imperative and important for people working on self-driving software because they need to be able to see clearly. You can imagine misidentifying a sign for a person, or famously last year was 2 years ago, Uber had an accident where they missed a crossing pedestrian on a bicycle. Things like that needs performance like this. This is somewhere in Silicon Valley. So in conclusion, basically, Baraha is a LiDAR innovative company. I've had the benefit of being Taiwanese myself. My home is here, and I've recently been able to establish partnerships. And we foresee going forward, there's a lot of opportunities. I think I'll leave with this comment. The automotive industry is going through a paradigm shift. I think it's quite obvious that everybody, including the traditional automotive companies as well. You see about it every day. GM made an announcement 2 weeks ago that they're putting an additional $27 billion into EV and AV. And everybody's got this Tesla craze. New EV companies coming every day. Now, why I say this is important for Taiwan and where I see the opportunity is that going from a traditional automotive to an EV vehicle that plays into Taiwan's traditional strengths very well, because we have a very good ICT supply chain. And that it's not about your transmission anymore, it's about your battery. It's not about your steering or your power steering, it's now about your ECU or your computer or your ASICs inside the vehicle. So there's a lot of opportunities in Taiwan that's from a supply chain standpoint that can integrate with the automotive industry and especially with the AV industry as well. So I look forward to having those opportunities and working with different Taiwan companies as we move forward. Baraha is a small company, but we are, I believe, a very strong company in this technology space. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. This excellent presentation. You have two clients here, Turin and Kingway Tech. I think very impressive. Okay, I believe Miranda has already coming back, or she has already arrived in Taiwan.
Hello again.
Yes, please.
Okay. So if we can move to the third slide. Next one. So quickly about the Cooperative and Automated Vehicle Initiative. It's essentially to unpack cooperative and automated vehicle technologies to determine whether they can contribute to our vision of zero road deaths and serious injuries in Queensland. In order to do this, we've developed a series of pilot projects using a variety of technology. And the objectives of the initiative are essentially to validate the safety impacts and the user perception. And we do this by demonstrating the technologies publicly. We also want to grow the department and government's technical and organisational readiness, so we know what we need to do from an infrastructure perspective to deploy and support the deployment of the technology, and encourage partnerships in this process and build capability in the local private sector that enables us to do that role from an infrastructure perspective. Next slide. So the first pilot, which is live now, is the Ipswich Connected Vehicle pilot. And in this pilot, we're looking at connected vehicles that talk with a cloud, which we've set up, which has a bunch of messages from government that support safety outcomes. And that covers around about 300 square kilometres of the city of Ipswich. We've also got infrastructure and traffic lights, so using short-range communications such as DSRC or 5.9 gigahertz at 29 traffic lights throughout the city of Ipswich. We've at the moment got about 350 participants with the vehicle equipment retrofitted into their vehicles driving around Ipswich today. We have 6 safety use cases that they would experience under certain conditions. 4 of those use information provided using our cloud, the cloud data, and the other 2, which are at traffic lights, use that short-range information communicating with the traffic lights around what colour the light is, so a red light, for example, and if there's a pedestrian in that crossing. So we've built this system to be compliant with European standards. Most of vehicles in Australia are European compliant, so that's in line with their requests and wishes within Australia too. Next slide. As mentioned, this wasn't really possible without the technology knowledge of a number of vendors, and the cloud, for example, the central station, has been developed on an Amazon platform with Transmax and WSP. Transmax is a presenter in today's session. We have a security credential management system which enables vehicles to sign messages that can then be securely shared between the vehicles and the infrastructure. And we've used Integrity Security Services in partnership with the Australian federal government. We have Telstra, our telecommunications provider, who provide a range of services, including at the core 3G, 4G. Coda Wireless is providing the vehicle stations and the display tablets. And Capsh is providing our roadside stations, which again communicate via that 5.9. So again, it's not really possible for us to achieve this outcome without these vendors, and we've explored a range of new elements in the standards that have pushed their products as well. Next slide. We have collaborated with Lexus and Toyota. They prepared a couple of demonstration vehicles using the Ipswich test bed to test the connected vehicle applications. They had several vehicle-to-vehicle applications in addition to the vehicle-to-infrastructure applications that we are piloting with the 350-odd participants. And both TMR and Ipswich have really spent a lot of time supporting Lexus and helping their product to develop and grow. Next slide. The other pilot that we're working on, which is a 5-year program, is called the Cooperative and Highly Automated Driving Pilot, referred to as CHAD. It's a research vehicle built by Vedicom, which is a French institute and includes Renault at the core. So Zoe 2 is the nickname for the vehicle, and Zoe is an electric vehicle that is the base provided by Renault. The vehicle has been retrofitted and is capable of level 4 automation. So it doesn't drive everywhere, it doesn't drive in all conditions, and it at this stage doesn't overtake vehicles. But it's an excellent research vehicle that we can enhance with our academic partners at the Queensland University of Technology and grow both their capability and our own understanding in the process. One of the benefits is the vehicle is also European compliant, cooperative or connected equipment so that it can actually talk to the infrastructure in Ipswich, such as the traffic lights and roadworks data. And so that gives us a feel of how well that message or how useful that message is in enabling automation in the future. Next slide. Again, as I mentioned, the studies we have using the Zoe 2 vehicle are across 5 years, but some of the examples focused on safety include driver handover, interaction with other transport users, what the infrastructure needs are, such as roadworks information as signage changes, and then a series of public demonstrations intended to, I guess, feed the needs of the public in terms of their understanding and what it can and can't do at this stage in the development cycle. So that's my presentation for this afternoon. Thank you, and I guess I'll pass it back to the next presenter.
Thanks, Miranda. It's David Appelt here from Transmax. I think I'm next on the list. Is that right?
Yes, David, I believe you are.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Miranda.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'll just share my slide here. Okay, thanks very much. So my name's David Appelt. I'm the product evangelist, emerging technology and innovation at Transmax. So Transmax is a private company, but we're owned by the Queensland Department of Transport and Main Roads. So we have our software. Our product is called Streams. It's deployed throughout much of Australia, and we're starting to move overseas too. And we have a trial of our flagship product called Smart Motorways starting in Colorado in the next couple of months. I'll speak more about Smart Motorways in a moment. Okay. So our product Streams, it's an integration platform. It allows integration of the entire ITS ecosystem of our customers' deployment. It includes incident management, traffic signal management, and motorway management through our product, Smart Motorways. It has travel information, maps and monitoring, emergency vehicle priority as well. So in Queensland, at least, we turn our traffic lights green in advance of ambulances that are on lights and siren. And so that's been a tremendous product. And the data suggests that the ambulances get to the destinations remarkably quickly with that in place. So so our flagship product here, our Smart Motorways product, we have that running throughout much of Australia, but only recently it was turned on a freeway in Western Australia called the Kwinana Freeway. So the Smart Motorways product features ramp signal management using the A-linear hero algorithm. It's world's best practice algorithm, followed by we have lane use management, the variable speed limit signs on gantries and pylons beside the road, and any amount of traveller information as well. And on top of that, in Queensland at least, we have a number of algorithms running on top of the freeway, identifying queues that are forming and slowing down the vehicles along the freeway in anticipation of those queues forming, but also constantly monitoring the freeway to prevent the formation of the queues in the first place. Okay, so this Kwinana Freeway, this software was only turned on in, I believe, August. So the analysis of that data is happening at the moment. But here's some early data from the first few days of it being turned on. So you can see all those squiggly lines there is the journey time along part of the freeway, and you can see the average there for the prior month. And so this is recorded after the first 2 days of it being turned on, or day 1 and day 2. And you can see that it's been transformative on that freeway. The people over in Western Australia, the team there did a great job. And not only was it a civil engineering works, but the rollout of the ITS was a big public information campaign as well. And so there was a lot of great support for this initiative. And anecdotally too, the information coming through from the public through talkback radio was very, very positive. People were turning up to work early, and they were surprised about how quickly they were getting to work. So one other thing, just our roadmap here, one thing that we're particularly interested in the future of streams, because we're an integration platform and we have access to freeways and that, all the software to run the traffic lights as well. We're very interested in taking a very holistic and high-level approach to the management of the entire network. We wish to move to a concept of what we call policy-based network operations, in which we can provide very high-level levers and dials to politicians and policymakers so that they can define high-level objective functions to be run at different geographies throughout the network based on time of day or day of week. And this slide here shows that maybe in the central business district, the objective functions may be emergency vehicle priority, followed by active transport, followed by pollution reduction, followed by late running public transport. But you can imagine in Queensland, we have a number of very significant ports. And so you can imagine that heavy vehicle priority might be a priority around the ports. So how do we architect our product streams so that we can define objective functions based on time of day or day of week at those areas, and then allow the rest of the system through a very distributive architecture to apply those policies down at the tactical level, down at the traffic lights. And then the important thing is to measure the impacts of that and then feed it back in so that we can, sometimes if we make a change in one area, it'll impact a change in a different area that we weren't expecting. So that's the direction that we're heading in. Finally, I'd just like to mention that with the Department of Transport and Main Roads and also the University of Queensland, starting next year, we're going to be running what we believe to be the Southern Hemisphere's largest mobility as a service trial. So this isn't going to include many hundreds, possibly thousands of University of Queensland students paying real money to participate in a mass trial. So that's very exciting, and that's due to start in first term of next year. Thanks very much. There's my contact details. I'm not sure who I pass it on to now. I'm not sure who's next.
Thank you very much, David. Running a little bit late, but I might ask another three speakers, try your best to complete your presentation with 6-7 minutes. Okay. Now we can invite Mr. Bob Zheng to share with you our experience on autonomous bus.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So, according to the time limitation, so quickly. Okay, my name is Zheng Huang, and I'm the General Manager of Queensland in Taiwan. So it's my honor to feature this forum, and I would like to begin with our company introduction. Okay, next. Okay, Queensland is a leader in providing the trusted, innovative, and product service and the solution for the intelligent transportation system. So we founded in the 1998, and now currently we have the capital about $30 million. And we have the over more than the 160 employees, and with the more than 70% of in the R&D members. So we have listed in the Taiwan marketing, Taiwan stock marketing in the 2019. Next page. Okay, so we have the 5 product, major product and the service that's including the map data, traffic data, and the navigation software, also including the telematics system and the self-driving the car solution. So all of our product and the service is focused on to the service our customer to have the total solution on the intelligence transportation system field. Next page. So in this page, you can see our milestone of our company. So today, Queensland is the biggest map provider in Taiwan. Our customer, including the Google, Apple, and also a lot of the largest portal in Taiwan. We also biggest navigation software brand company in Taiwan. So with the 60 million download users. Relied on the successful experience on the map data and the navigation software. Now today we are the unique telematics service provider in Taiwan. We are customer including the BMW, Audi, Porsche, and also Toyota. So as you know, I think the autonomous driving. Okay, so you know, I think the autonomous driving is the booming trend in the near future. So we 2 years ago we are cooperating with the media to become the strategic partner in Taiwan for the AI, the HD map collecting system, and also the autonomous driving system. I think years ago we had built up the Hutoshan Information Hub in the Taoyuan city. And then we focus on the autonomous driving the system, the developer, and also the integration, the telematics, and the IoT the research. Today we have our own autonomous driving the system team. And after the years of hard work, so this year we got the first autonomous vehicle operating license in Taiwan. Now we have the 3 fields. One is the Hutoshan Cloud field, and we also have the Danhai New Taipei City field, and also have the jumping area. So so I would like to show you a video to make you more easy to understand what we have, and we have what kind of the technology we have in the autonomous driving system.
Kingway Tech Technology, the main provider for digital and HD maps for autonomous vehicles in Taiwan. Our company has laid the foundation for autonomous vehicles by using mobile mapping systems that are fitted with LiDAR, radar, image sensor, GPS, IMU, and any number of sensing systems. It detects and measures dynamic objects around the system and streams real-time data from its sensors. This information will be stored as 3D point cloud data to build HD maps with centimeter-level accuracy, combining the strength of lane-level navigation and telematics. The autonomous technology developed by Kingway Tech Technology is displayed in Taoyuan Hutoshan Innovation Hub. All the vehicles in the hub are equipped with a range of sensors to collect traffic information and to interact with roadside units. With the aid of HD maps, the vehicles will be able to understand its precise position. We also develop multi-vehicle control and follow-up technology. Kingway Tech Technology has created an autonomous vehicle simulation software in the hub. The software provides various testing scenarios for vehicles to learn and can greatly reduce the time spent in field tests. The clustering of the autonomous vehicle-related businesses in Taoyuan Huzhou Innovation Hub creates a great environment for developing and testing the vehicles. Moreover, the place also serves as an experimental ground for applying 5G, V2X, and telematics, and demonstrate the communication of V2B and V2B. Kingway Tech Technology provides a control platform to monitor the status and control parameters of all autonomous vehicles. Based on this information, the controller can dispatch or recall the vehicle immediately. For the coming age of 5G, the high-speed data transmission will increase the data processing speed and the safety of autonomous vehicles. Soon, the vehicle will be able to run on the road. AI camera offers faster image processing for autonomous vehicles and helps the vehicles to recognize more than 200 traffic signs. Our decision-making system for autonomous vehicles can quickly detect upcoming obstacles in front of the vehicle and inform the braking system to stop or detour. In the future, the autonomous bus can be used to support public transportation according to the people's needs and will bring great convenience to society. Autonomous vehicles can also be applied in logistics and transportation services. Combining the vehicle and the cloud computing solution, we can ensure accuracy in forecasting future traffic flow and make shipments arrive faster. Soon, you can control an autonomous vehicle by simply pressing a button. The vehicle will then automatically drive to your side. Leading through smart driving. Kingway Tech Technology.
I think the Kingway Tech is always focused on to enable the intelligent operating system, and we would like to empower the development of the smart city. And I think for the Kingway Tech, with the Kingway Tech, there is no limit to the innovation and also to the service to our clients. So I would like to looking for any cooperation opportunity with Australia, and this is my speech. Thank you.
Okay, and Stephen, could you share with us your experience on autonomous bus? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zhang. To begin with, I would like to give you an overview of Turing Drive's scale as compared to Kingway. We are just 2.5 years old. We were born and raised up in Taiwan. Currently, there are nearly 40 staff in the company with a capital base of just a little bit over than $1.5 million US. And we would like to go public someday like Kingway. And there are lots of wonderful AV teams in Taiwan, but I would say that we are probably the only one who really focuses on the autonomous driving system per se, and is a private company. Is it working? Is it working? Is someone controlling the slide for me? Okay, good. Okay, I will do by voice control. It's a timeline of the company. Since our establishment, we've been traveling in various types of scenarios in Taiwan. Next slide, please. And we were happy to be invested by a Japanese company called KKC last year. And we are still trying in many parts of Taiwan, which I will also be skipping. Next one, please. Of course, we don't do everything by ourselves. As you can see, Turing Drive situates at the center of the ecosystem. We integrate with other hardware from the system part. And our key partners include Tron Energy, that's a e-bus maker in Taiwan. NVIDIA, I bet you all know, and other famous company at home and abroad. For the sensors, I would say we use whatever is cheap and reliable. So I already met a potential partner here. And we work with our Japanese shareholder KKC on the HD map production. Next one, please. But what do we really do? We don't do level 5 autonomous driving in all conditions. Instead, we would like to focus on the pain points of smart cities or smart sites here and there. A lot of sites are not being run efficiently these days because we don't get real-time information from many other environmental inputs. For example, traffic flow, traffic signals, or some other interference. And the aim for many of us is to really create a very efficient and safe condition or a smart city where all information is connected and shared. Next one, please. And we believe that autonomy can really help us to achieve that kind of smart cities. But again, we're not aiming at level 5 because it's just simply too difficult. All the #1 players in the world have admitted that they are not there yet. If we see the disengagement statistics of all the major players, you will see that even Waymo have to take over the autonomous vehicle for every 10,000 miles, and that's far worse than the Taiwanese driver. Next one, please. So why don't we create or focus on a rather friendly environment? Next one, please. So we have decided to focus on the ODDs. ODD stands for Operational Design Domain. This simply means a set of conditions where AVs can run smoothly and safely. Next one. And we didn't invent this term. It was proposed by Waymo, Google's company. So today, a lot of AV developers around the world have realized that ODDs would be the really realistic, reasonable, and probably profitable goal to achieve. Next one. One example of ODD is self-driving during a segment on the highway. That's the part we are confident in doing AV. Otherwise, we'll use manual driving. Next one. So Turing Drive actually produces the autonomous driving system that can be applied to various types of vehicles. We don't provide the vehicles, we don't make the vehicles. And this system can be operated in many kinds of ODDs. This is our goal. Next one. But ODDs are not easy. As you can see, there are a lot of challenging conditions in these sites. For example, GPS signals can be poor, the roads or the drivable area may not be clear, or sometimes you have to deal with indoor positioning, or there are some blind spots in these particular environments. And you also have to deal with strange people behavior, driver behavior in these conditions. Next one. Still, we believe that autonomy is the solution to enhance efficiency and safety in these ODDs. And what we can help is to install the system on these special purpose vehicles, like golf carts, cargo shippers, and so on. Next one. And what we exactly provide is a set of autonomous driving software, hardware, and the SDKs. We call them Turing Drive Kit or package for vehicle operators or vehicle makers. With this package, we can make their existing products autonomous ones. Next one. And this would bring about tremendous benefits to site owners or fleet managers, because they can definitely save at least 40% of human resource costs, and with a little bit more, they only have to pay a little bit more on the vehicles. And what they get finally is safety and efficiency. Next one. A little bit more details about our products. These are the software and hardware packages or modules in our solution. And if you see the bottom line about the vehicle, you will find that we only control a part of the vehicle. We will send the command to the vehicle platform, and then we work with the vehicle maker or vehicle body maker to provide different solutions for different ODDs. Starting from next year, we would focus on 2 vehicle platforms. One being adopted in rather confined areas. This would serve low-speed driving conditions, and the other platform will target at car grade certification, more robust road conditions, and faster operating speed. Next one. This kind of vehicle can be easily deployed and with enough safety assurance for ODDs. Next one. And it's not just one particular type of vehicle. With the same platform, vehicle platform, we can build hundreds of kinds of vehicle bodies to suit site owners' needs. Next one. And of course, we have developed our own autonomous operation and control center or mission planner that satisfy the basic needs of fleet management and can also control the vehicles or the fleet from the center. And the point is, we want to optimize the operation efficiency of any site by collecting data and by optimizing the algorithm. Next one. Next one, please. Finally, let me tell you how we've been working on the ODDs ever since day one. Next one. The first project that we did, or the founding members did, was a confined area operation in Taoyuan Agriculture Expo. And actually, the company was not established yet. We did this project under the leadership of Professor Zhang and in collaboration with King Wei. And soon after this success, we decided to found the company, and we did some more projects. Next one. And then we run 3 routes in an amusement park in central Taiwan. This is a perfect ODD with various types of scenarios like hotels, parking lot, outlet mall, and a racing track. We learned a lot from here. Next one. And then we have been commissioned by a golf club in northern Taiwan to build fully autonomous golf carts. And we would say that it might achieve level 4.5 or a little bit higher in this kind of ODD, which is golf course. And we are very excited about this project because, next one, this kind of product can be applied to similar types of ODDs from the airport, resort, harbor area to parking lots. With the same product, similar challenges, same system. The next one. And we have identified another type of ODD, which is dedicated bus lanes in downtown Taipei. So we've been working with Dr. Li's team in Taipei City Government earlier this year, and we've been running this prototype autonomous bus for more than 2 months publicly, and we've been learning a lot from the operation as well as from the 5G and V2X technologies at all major road intersections along Xinyi Road in Taipei. Next one. And with the experience from this types of ODD, we can quickly expand the network to at least all other major bus lanes in Taipei and in other remote areas, suburban areas in Taiwan, as long as there are dedicated lanes. Next one, please. We hope that in one day, in a smart city, optimized site, there are at least tens or hundreds types of AVs with Turing Drive inside, and that's our mission. Next one. So in short, Turing Drive believes that autonomous system can solve a lot of problems at ODDs, and we will keep doing that. Thank you very much.
We almost run out of time, but we still have one excellent autonomous speaker, William, which would give us your experience. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for all the sharing today. And it's kind of exciting for us to sharing at this section because most of the operators or companies share at this kinds of forums would be like devices manufacturers or the solution provider. But actually, GoShare is more like focusing on the service side. So let me introduce myself first. So I'm William, and I'm currently responsible for the GoShare's overseas expansion. As some of you may know, the GoShare is one of the subsidiaries in Google Group. So let me starting with the introductions of the Google Group first, and I'll make it simple and straight. So we have been researching in some kinds of all kinds of study, and we know that from the UN's report that till 2030. So there will be over 40 megacities in the world. What kinds of megacities will be like people gathering in this kind of cities and with lots of kind of transactions, behaviors, all kinds of interactions in these cities. Next page. And what this means is that 60% of the population will live in these 41 megacities. Next page. And for all these kinds of gathering, and the other situation that we are facing that is that from the WTO, over 80% of the people is entering the air that is not good and not healthy to our body, over 80% of us. And that includes you and me in this world, and also including next page. Also including Jakarta, New Delhi, and Beijing. And we know that the situation now happening is that for this kind of megacity, the people use all kinds of regardless economic behavior or these kind of interactions. And actually, mobility is something that results in all these kind of situations. So for the carbon emissions and all these kinds of pollutions, for the mobility to take over 30% of all these kind of pollutions. So this is a situation we need to face. And also, we are also seeing in these megacities, there are some situations now. We've got traffic congestions, and they also got a bad, insufficient infrastructures, which mostly happen in Southeast Asia and the developing countries. The third one would be the rapid growth of the just about populations and our people. We are getting too fast, but we don't have the sufficient interaction way for this kind of mobility needs. So it comes to the vision of the Google Road. Oh, vision just gone. So the vision is that we want to build a cleaner and smarter cities, not just for the commercial side. It's almost what we are working for every day. So the reason why we're working for this company is that every revenue we earn, or all kinds of the money, the revenue we have, is all building on the environmental friendly issues or impact. So this is what we have been working for. Next page. So this also comes to our investors from all the worldwide famous people or company. So the board is the ex-presidents from we've got lots of topics and discussions about the carbon emissions, about the pollutions. And also we got the Samuel Yin, from Taiwan. And also we got the NG, one of the tallest, largest energy company in France. And also we got the Fuwa and Tatasek. And Sumitomo is one of the biggest conglomerates in Japan now. And also we got the Taiwan National Development Fund. So we got all these kinds of different investors to show us that we have a really stable and also show us the visions about how we want to do for this environment. And all these stories about Gogoro is starting with our smart batteries. So you can see that from our batteries and our stations. And if we are back into the topic today, is that you can, if you guys know or ever saw our products on the roadside, actually each battery they got a microcomputer in this, and they got two computer in our charging station. So let me illustrate it more about these details. So if you got your scooter just got full, and then someone just parking at the roadside and just get your scooter got full, and then reuse it and to get it to the back, all the battery would just mark this at a record. So once you pack the batteries in the charging station, then the data will just send back to our control centers to tell you that there got some situations about your scooters happening what time in all locations. This is what we can do for our products. Next page. And for our group station now, the charging station compound station, now we've got around 2,000 now in Taiwan, and another number is about the base station in Taiwan now is around 2,200. So actually, what makes people don't want to ride the electric scooter is about the difficulty for charging. Actually, the reality now it happened for Gogoro scooters is actually our charging station is almost the same numbers with the gasoline station. Next page. And also we got different kinds of scooters from the, we got the first one from 2015, and it's the most expensive one, as everybody knows. Then we make it more localized and customized to different kinds of needs, different kinds of price. And then we also have the V-Ball in 2019, which is only like 500K. 50K, not 550K. Next page. And also we also launched our new product this year is for electric bicycles called EO. And we are now already entering the market of France and States, and also we are entering into Southeast Asia, these days. And back to our visions, we are not only to earn the money or the revenue from the side, we also want to ensure these kinds of network can be enlarged in Taiwan. So this is how we collaborate with the local operators and local manufacturers to build up this kind of electric vehicles systems to ensure that all these kinds of operators and manufacturers, their scooters can also use our batteries. Next page. And Gosha is founded in 2019, last year. And the reason is that we found that people are still using their traditional old gasoline scooters. And the reason is actually the electric scooters got some barrier for them to enter because it's a little bit expensive and it's not that easier to use. So this is why GoShare just been founded. And next page. And the GoShare is actually the total solution that integrates all the products and all the development from Gogoro Group. We have been benefit from the charging station. So unlike other operators. Our riders, our users, they can recharge by themselves. And the second thing is that we got battery to help us to record all the situation and behavior during the riding. And the second thing is that we got our smart scooters, which got we said that it might be the best quality in the world now for the vehicles. And also we have our own team to build the app. And we are our own team to establish all the kind of R&D establishments, both for hardware and software. And for these kinds of end-to-end solution, actually we are the first, and actually we are the only one now in the world, this kind of end-to-end solutions. Even Benz and Mercedes-Benz and also operators and manufacturers, they don't have these kinds of solution yet. And what this can benefit for us is that we have a higher adaptabilities. So everybody might know that we got another sharing mode has operator called Coop in Europe. And once become the first one, they got the largest market share, and they go bankrupt. The reason is they cannot react to the market kinds of fast. So this is the situation all the sharing mode has already face. The second thing is about the fastest scalability. So compared to the public transportation or sometimes, take an example in Jakarta, they take 10 years to build up a MRT line, and they are still halfway to the whole transportation situation and system. But for the GoShare, we only need 6 months to 8 months to deploy in the new complete new cities, which can be a great supplement to the public transportation. Okay, next page. And this is what we want to build is called the smart city ecosystems. Next page. And we are now in Taiwan, providing our service in 6 regions, 5 cities in Taoyuan, Taipei, Tainan, New Taipei City, Building. And we also launched our new services in the coast area of Taipei. In this April, we use another brand called Dots to provide the dots to dots sharing service. Next page. And also, we are the world's best in growing electric scooter sharing service. And this will be also be recorded in the global report they're going to release this week. So for these kinds of data is that we have over 800K users, actually around 900 users now. And what kinds of numbers is this? Is that for now in Taipei and in Taipei City, we got 3 million users that will ride the bicycles, which means that among 3 people, they've got 1 people they know or even not ever use our service. So this is quite something that we want everyone to know that this is how GoShare do in Taiwan. And also, this is a recognized record worldwide. Next page. Next page. So we have lots of trips and a lot of battery swaps. And all I want to emphasize upon the next page is that we got 50% of the battery swaps is swapping by our users. And this has never happened in any kinds of countries. And thanks to the rural network and also the energy network, also our policy and governments of this. And we see that lots of people use this image for our speech today. And we have also made the great impact on carbon emissions. So for the past 13 months, we have been saved for 2,000 tons of the CO2. It's in equivalent of reusing the gasoline tubes. And all these trips is not the extra trips, it's what people would used to have. It's the mobility needs they already have are just transferred from gas car to the vehicles. Next page. So for the GoShare, we think it is the fastest way to mass adoption to the electric revolution. And what this means to Australia and our country is that we know that lots of people want to implement or deploy this kinds of smart city, smart mobility, and also during the COVID time, more and more people are emphasizing about the mobility as a service and this kind of sharing mobility. So for the smart mobility or the electric vehicle usage, the GoShare and this kind of sharing paths would be the fastest way and the greatest way, we'll say, is to adopt this kind of solutions to the cities to supplement your transportation that already have. So we also announced our overseas expansion plan this year. Is to call it Explore with GoShare, is to want to find all the partners around the world to join our platform to launch the service to different kinds of countries. So we want the different kinds of bodies to enter this platform. We want the government to provide support, and we want the corporates who want to run our service in their countries. We want to leverage their expertise to their cities. We know that, like in Jakarta, how to run our service in Jakarta, how we can get commercial revenue in different kinds of regions and countries. We also need venture to join our platform, provide us with more funds, provide us more bullets to make sure that this kind of energy revolution can be happening. And so a quick summary of our service, there got 3 impacts once we go over some expansions into the smart city. The first one is that we can enlarge the business area and boost the economy. So take Jakarta as an example. Basically, if you are using the MRT to enlarge the business area, it's around like 500 meters to 1,000 meters of the walking area. So this is mainly based on the business area around the MRT. And if it's for the train scooters, what will happen is that you can around 5 kilometers to 8 kilometers to enlarge your business area. People can move more distance to shop and to happen all kinds of economic behavior. The second thing is that this is what happened to all the vehicles, that we can reduce the carbon emissions and also increase the sustainability. And the third thing is that we are not trying to replace the public transportation. What the sharing more path of sharing mobility provide is that we can supplement the existing public transportation, just like what Susan said and all the people mentioned about is that to fulfill the first mile or the last mile of the older journey. So take an example, some people are living in a really far area or rural area. So even we have the MRT or bus, but the station is actually far from where these people live. And then these people will never use the public transportation. He or she will just using his own scooters, own cars, to do all this kind of transportation. And this will also result in the shortage of the parking spaces. And this is what happened now in Taiwan, and also is the situation now happening in Thailand, Jakarta, and there's developed cities. So, next page. So, to conclude all the sharing today is that GoShare want to help all the cities and governments and to approach and to reach and to achieve the goals and initiatives about the smart city and also the green initiatives. Okay. So this is my sharing today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Will. I'm really reluctant to start all the presentation. Although we are running out of time, but I believe it's quite a unique opportunity that we can spend some more time to share our experience. And as I mentioned earlier, not just from our speaker, but also the audience may have your comments. Okay, I saw there's people are raising your hand. Well, first of all, let me ask a question for panelists who are already waiting online for a while. My first question for Miranda. Miranda, are you still there?
I'm here. Yes.
Good, wonderful.
From your presentation, I saw there are several initiatives. One of the initiatives is the chat. I do see the potential for transfer to Taiwan in terms of the ecosystem and the partnership the Queensland established. So the question for you, how this initiative being adopted by Taiwan or by other country or cities, and how the Taiwanese partner can be included and joining in the initiative in Queensland.
Okay, well, we have been working with a variety of partners, as we note. The vehicle in Chad is actually owned now by the Queensland University of Technology, and they are happy to discuss a range of partnerships with different universities and vendors to explore research topics. The vehicle certainly still has a number of trips to do around Queensland before it hops over the pond to be used anywhere else, but that's not to say there isn't that opportunity in the future. We also have a very large data set, both through the connected vehicle pilot and the chat, which we do share with folks for specific research projects and purposes.
Yes, wonderful. As I mentioned earlier, our Ministry of Transport Communications worked with New Taipei City government. It was help from Kingway Tech and also Zhonghua Telecom, trying to have the 5G and AIoT deployment trials. So I believe in this format and the partnership in chat in Queensland should be one of the models that we can learn from. And David, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Hello, David. Yeah, good. You know, from the smart freeway project, I saw two brilliant numbers. The achievement. One is the travel time. You applying the streams, you reduce the travel time from 26 minutes to 30 minutes. It's a great achievement. The other one is that the carrying capacity increased about 25%. I also, curious. Do you have the number for example, the energy saving, the emission reduction from your project?
Yes, well, that's a great question. Thanks very much for that. So, you know, the data that we had there was very early on. The customer at the moment, I believe, is compiling the entire set of data. They'd probably have to wait a couple more months to collect the full data set to make the statistically significant conclusions. So at the moment, we don't have that data. And indeed, the trial that we're doing in Colorado at the moment, it hasn't been turned on yet. It's going to wait till the end of the American winter. But we're, again, collecting the data at the moment. But it's interesting you should ask about the carbon dioxide and emissions and energy savings and the like, because depending on the audience, depending on who the customer is, we're using different metrics to talk about what the benefits are. In fact, in Australia, we'll often talk about the societal cost of excessive congestion, how much it costs society to sit in traffic. But we should probably get those statistics about carbon savings and energy savings too, and have that at our fingertips depending on the audience. As for the other questions about how is it possible, I really like these questions. How is it possible that this, ITS, ramp metering and lane use management, variable message signs, variable speed limit signs can increase the capacity of a freeway?
Yes.
How is it possible to decrease the journey time along a piece of bitumen? And well, I've got Dr. Miranda on the line here, and she's a world-famous traffic engineer, but I'm going to have a bit of a stab at this one because the problem is that the freeways break down. As soon as the freeways have a capacity, which is the maximum number of cars that can go down that road, but as soon as the number of cars attempts to go down the road that exceeds the capacity, then all of a sudden we get flow breakdown and we get traffic jams. Now, it's not fixed like that. It's very stochastic or statistical in its nature. And so that freeway in question there was very susceptible to breakdowns. There was traffic jams along that freeway every day. And so our software understands what the capacity of the freeway is. And then the algorithms very carefully limit the number of cars that enter that freeway to ensure that the number of cars on the road at no point exceeds its capacity. And so by doing that, it maximizes the flow at every point. In fact, our colleagues down in Victoria are getting so sophisticated at it that they can dial up the metrics so that they can say that they're going to run their freeway at like 97% capacity for 4 hours with a 3% chance of breakdown. So they're getting that good at it using the software. So yeah, it's this wonderful sort of interaction between traffic engineering, between software and indeed human psychology too. Because if you were to set the speed limit to 200 kilometers an hour down the road, that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get more cars down the road. It's human nature that as soon as you exceed about 80 or 90 kilometers an hour, that you start to back off from the car in front. And so some people sort of turn up the industry and say, oh, we're going to solve the problems by increasing the speed limits. Actually, increasing the speed limits decreases the number of cars that can go down the road. Sometimes setting the speed limit to about 80 kilometers an hour is actually most efficient at getting the most number of cars and indeed the most number of people down the road.
Okay, thank you very much. We have similar problem from Taipei to Yilan. Fortunately, in the last two long weekend, the Ministry of Transport and Communication really solved the similar problem by smoothing the traffic so that we don't have that serious congestion in the past two long weekends. Thank you very much, David. One of the reasons I raised sustainability, emission reduction and energy saving, and also the safety, because one of the initiatives proposed by ITS Australia was the IT for sustainable and safety. So we call ITS Square. That's one of the main purpose that we promote ITS technology. So I believe behind the data for the smooth traffic and also the increased carrying capacity also has the benefit for safety and the sustainability. Yeah. Let me also raise a question for Stephen. Stephen, you mentioned about ODD, and you also talk about autonomous vehicle for not just the bus operation, but also for other operation. And I believe you also know lots of trial initiative in Australia. What do you think the Turing solution can bring the benefit to our Australian partner? What do you look for the collaboration between our two countries?
Thank you very much, Professor Zhang, for this question. I believe that our autonomous driving kit, or the way we transforming traditional vehicles into autonomous ones, can bring about tremendous benefits for Australian fleet in operation. For example, in a factory zone or in a mining zone, there may be dozens or tens of mining trucks, for example, and these trucks or the truck manufacturers or the fleet owners may want to have an autonomous fleet, and this way they can quickly upgrade their fleet by our driving package. And we can also install a smart management system very quickly to the sites.
Good, thank you very much. Ministry of Transport Communications has announced the National Autonomous Bus Team. Our president of TTIA, work with several other associations, including our Smart City Alliance, trying to help our Ministry of Transport Communication come out the so-called National Autonomous Bus Team, in which probably 100 autonomous buses will be established in northern, middle, and southern Taiwan. I think that will be a very good platform for joint research and collaboration between Australia and Taiwan. So I look forward to that kind of collaboration. And last but not least, William, you mentioned several important keywords for the future mobility and vehicle development, which is we call ACE: automated, connected, electric, and shared mobility. We know that behind this we have at least three kinds of value chain: vehicle, infrastructure, network. So from you as a private sector, okay, promoting green mobility, electric mobility, shared mobility, what would you suggest for our government to help this shared mobility and electric mobility develop, particularly for the infrastructure value chain? 2 minutes.
Okay. I think for these questions, I will focus more on how can the governments in Australia can help and what kinds of opportunities would be the collaborations. So we can see that for current situation, scooter exports would be something that the conservative industry for each country. But if you want to deploy this kind of service in different countries, that this is fundamental issues we need to solve. So like in Southeast Asia and most of the Asia, we got the high tariffs for these kinds of scooters, mopeds. So what we need from the government support would be like mostly about to open a green initiative, or mostly would be like maybe a sandbox. So we are pushing these kinds of sandbox in certain countries, and Australia is actually one of our priority countries to implement the service. So the first thing is that to have these kinds of green initiatives and to get the support from governments, and we also need the government to help us to matching the possible partners locally from Australia.
Wonderful. The ADB, Asia Development Bank, just initiated a call for proposal for the collaboration for the so-called smart solution for mobility. I think that would be another opportunity for us to work together. I think there's a question from our floor. Okay, could you pass the microphone? Can you tell us your name and institute and your question? Thank you. Or comments.
我姓梁，这次拜登的政见，ET 新能源。所谓 ET 新能源，简单的讲就是4个字：电跟磁的互换，创造一个永续流动的电源圈，产生的磁场，然后再转变成源源不绝的电流。 那至于为什么是 ET 呢？是因为外星的飞行物 坠毁在地球。那检视人员看到了一个中空的管，以为是空管子，结果他没有想到这是真空管，真空的管子，所以叫做一体。那它至于用在汽车上面的话，它一个体积大概一个便当盒大。
请问你的建议具体，因为我们时间也有限，对不起啊，
我很快就讲完了。那一个是定价$10,000，那2045年全部100%的那个电动车的话，每年有价值$5000亿。那和硕童子源他说应该有10到20倍，那这个是包含天上飞的、地上走的、海上游的，还有电子零件。那最后我提出了一个理论，就是能源加上压力会创造元素以及星球，所以这个创造星球是可以提升到无限的价值。谢谢。
Okay, maybe later on we will provide the translation to our audience. But really, last but not least, since our president, Mr. Wu, the TGIA, sitting here, normally you have a great idea. So I would just a quick question for you. Based on today's discussion, what would you suggest for our next step for the collaboration between Queensland or in general Australia and Taiwan in terms of the future mobility? 1 minute.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. The question goes to me. I think my standing here just can answer your question. Because I think in the future, I'd better we use the association resources. Because in not only TTIA, Taiwan Telematics Industry Association, but also ITS Taiwan or in ITS in Australia, this association, the members of the association, including government agency, research institute, and all advanced local industries. So this can play a very good platform. If both sides association can have much more cooperation and collaboration and create much more opportunity for our business, I think in the future we have better use the association as a platform. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to stop our discussion here. But next April, we are going to have our Asia Pacific Forum in Brisbane. And I brought several delegations to Brisbane several years ago for the Smile the Busway. And there are lots of things we can learn from each other. And I think Asia Pacific Forum is one of the platform. I hope after COVID-19 that we will not have the COVID-20, so we can go to Brisbane to have more collaboration and discussion on the future mobility. Please join with me to give our panelists a big applause to thank you for their contribution.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zhang. And can we please put our hands together once more for all of the speakers today, including our wonderful moderator. Let's put our hands together for the wonderful organizers today. So Paul Lee's team at the Asia Silicon Valley Development Agency and Lawrence from Austrade and Sabrina from TIQ. will be made available after this event today. We'll share those with you. And we also have some more food and desserts and coffee and tea up the back. So if you'd like to stay on a bit longer for networking, you're more than welcome to do so. If you would like to get in touch with any Australian companies, again, just have a chat to Lawrence from Austrade or Sabrina from TIQ. And I also hope that we can meet in Brisbane next year for the Asia Pacific Forum. So I hope there's a travel bubble with your papa. Okay, thank you everybody.